Welcome into another edition of The Session with Londa and David. My name's David Austin, and sitting across from me, as always, the most beautiful girl I've ever looked at with super cool bangly earrings.
Oh, my.
And a sport coat. They've got like feather dusters on the end of them.
Yeah, in
hot,
case I need to
hot.
sweep the table.
I love it.
I'll be ready to go.
You look spectacular like
Thank
a movie
you.
star, and I'm excited about this edition of The Session with Londa and David. Each week brought to you by Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants. Call Londa today. No business is too small and no project is too big. 509-491-2663 for Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants. Just what the doctor ordered for your business. This is a fun episode.
Okay.
Yesterday was the National Teach In Day in elementary schools.
Yes.
And this morning when I woke up, I watched the news and saw how the local Tampa area news media went to all the schools. Well, here's something exciting. Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants went to Central and South Florida area schools yesterday for the Great American Teach In.
We sure did.
And we got to talk to kids about what we do.
It was fun.
And that's what I want to talk about on this edition of The Session with Londa and David. And here's why. We talked about finding what you love to do and turning that into money. And that's exciting. And we talked about how we have a very diverse portfolio of businesses and job opportunities.
Yep.
And how to do that is really what we talked about with the kids. And it was an honor to be invited, and you were spectacular.
Well, thank you.
I want to hear from you, Londa Joanne Sherwood Austin. What do people need to do to be successful doing what they love?
Well, that's a big question that I can't answer really, but I'd love to help them figure that out. So one of the things that we shared with the kids is and we've said it in a previous podcast when we were talking about starting over.
Yes.
If you're a little bit lost, think about what you really loved doing when you were around 10, 12 years old. And it was fun because that's exactly the age group we got to talk to yesterday. So I loved talking to them about, hey, listen, the things that you love to do now, you're still probably going to love when you're our age. And, you know, really pay attention to that because it could turn into business. We said it in a very fluid way with the kids, but we said, these are the 8 different ways we currently make money. And here's how this way is connected to what I loved when I was 10. This way. And then it was great because we asked the kids, we went through the room and said, hey, we want to know what you guys are into. We took questions about our business, and really all they wanted to know is how much money do we make.
Right.
But, and then we went around the room and said, hey, we want to know what you guys are into. Like, what do you like to do when you're not at school? And we just popcorned through the room, and they gave us all kinds of different answers. And then we said, hey, going back to this one who said that, did you know that if you love that, here's a few different jobs you can do as an adult to make money.
Right.
So really trying to connect the dots for them as well as just open up their vision.
Right.
And we said, listen, some people like to do the same thing every day their whole life.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. We need those people. And then some people like to do a lot of different things.
Right.
And I thought it was fun because it was almost a little good cop, bad cop. We accidentally did that. But like you talked about being in the gifted program, and then and in the gifted program, you started your first business. At
the age of 11.
Right. And then I talked about how I got kicked out of the gifted program, but still started a business, my first one at 14. And so I wanted them to see that too, the diversity in it. Basically that there's no rules.
Right.
There's no rules anymore to life. And hopefully, I was talking about how many of you have ever been in trouble for talking in class.
Right.
And of course, hands go up all the way across and it wasn't just a classroom. That kind of surprised me. It was the entire fourth grade.
Right.
Or the fifth grade. We had the fifth graders first, the entire fifth grade of this school, and then the entire fourth grade. So that was kind of fun. But hands go up all over the place, and I said, I was that kid. I really couldn't sit still. I couldn't focus on one thing. I was in trouble a lot. Like I said, I got kicked out of the gifted program. I got in trouble for talking all the time.
Right.
And while I did have to learn how to be more respectful in the classroom and, not say everything that pops in my head, and I did do that, now I get paid to talk.
Right.
So, and I talked a lot about those different things, those kids who can't focus, and that actually can be a benefit to you later on because you can diversify your income streams. And I love it because I get to move on. When I'm bored with this, I move on to this project over here. And when I'm bored with that, I move to this project. And so a little bit, each time. And yet I live and die by systems. And so it's a really interesting, I don't know. It's like opposites attract inside my brain. I want to totally be that free spirit, but I also live and die by systems. And there's no rules.
Here's the secret I have for you. You are not a free spirit. You are a very determined spirit. And when you set your mind to doing something, nothing can derail that.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because I am totally not like that.
Well, and I think one of the things that I get down on myself a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle with that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Negative, thinking about myself. But one thing that I know I'm really, really, really super good at is if there is a way to accomplish it, whatever it is,
mm-hmm.
for me or a client or a friend or somebody, I will figure it out.
Well, because you're a force of nature. And that's what we say in the mortgage industry all the time at Envoy Mortgage in Kennewick, Washington. We've been saying for years, Dago and I have been saying we're forces of nature.
Right.
We can make it happen. If it can be done,
yes,
you need to believe that you're the one to do it.
Right.
That's different than believing every deal is your deal because every deal is not your deal. And a lot of people think that their deal is every single deal, right?
Yeah, no.
I don't feel that way at all, but I do believe if there is a deal to be done, no one's going to figure it out like me.
Yeah, and I believe the same thing.
Yep.
In fact, I'm really excited right now. It looks like I've won a new listing in Washington State, which the reason I'm so excited about it is because I know for a fact I was competing for this listing.
Yes.
And I'm not there. And I think, I don't want to speak too soon. I'll know for sure tomorrow morning, but it's looking like I've won the listing. So that is an example of figuring out how to do something because I wanted to learn how to do it. I wanted to have the flexibility. I was married to real estate for years and I got really burned out and I needed to learn how to do it and have the flexibility to travel as much as I want.
Right.
Which sometimes means not being in town for a couple months.
Right.
And so...
And that's okay.
Yeah.
We found a way to make that work.
Yeah, for sure. And that's part of what we're talking about today is you can really design your life any way you want it. You're not stuck at all. If you, one thing I love to say into these kids is, you kind of said it, you didn't use these words, but you kind of said this. You said, if your teachers want to make more money, they have to go to school.
Right.
But if I want to make more money in sales, I just have to talk to more people.
That's exactly right. And I think I said exactly that. And I feel
it was really close.
I felt bad when I said teachers have a limited income and they top out after their highest level of education.
Right.
I wasn't being critical of teachers.
No,
I was just saying there are pay scales. And if you are in a position where someone else determines your pay, there's nothing you can do to make more money.
We also did talk with them, and the reason we're talking with you about this is these are principles that apply
to everything,
whether you're 10 or 100.
That's exactly right.
And so we also talked with them about how, listen, they were really, the fifth graders especially, were really fixated on the money thing.
Right.
And I finally said, listen, I've made all the money I ever want. And I can tell you this, money does not buy you happiness.
Right.
It does not buy you peace. It does not buy you contentment. It doesn't buy any of those things that actually are really important in life.
Mm-hmm.
What it does give you is it gives you choices
right.
and options.
That's right.
So, because not everybody is motivated by money, and that is great. And not everyone wants to, be a big shot and make $1 million a year or whatever. There are people that, we were just talking about it, the new rich.
Right.
We were talking about the new rich, and if you're not familiar with that term, the new rich are people who primarily, they're debt-free.
Mm-hmm.
They live their lives very small.
Mm-hmm.
They work remotely,
right?
Generally speaking, and they put their time, energy, and resources into experiences.
Right. Which is kind of what we've done over the last year and a few months. We have focused more of our lives on quality and
absolutely,
and less on being somewhere every single day to punch a time clock and all that, right?
No, there's a time for that.
Well, there is a time for that.
You just said to me this morning, hey, we got to start showing up at the office more.
Yeah, I did. And here's why. I'm motivated by my results and my success. And looking at my income year to date was exciting because it was more than I anticipated, right?
Right.
And it really wasn't hard to achieve.
Right.
There were a couple of deals that I've done this year that were heart-wrenching and stressful and hard. And I realize...
A couple?
Yeah. And I realize that the more involved I am, the less of those there are.
That's very true.
Does that make sense?
True. You're so good at what you do. Listening to you work is one of my favorite things because I learn. In fact, I just was... when I had this pre-listing appointment a couple days ago,
right?
I was telling you I incorporated some of what I've learned from you just listening to you.
Right.
That's why I love shared offices.
Yes.
If you're in a place, where you're doing sales and you can be in a shared office with a rock star, oh man, do it every time.
Well,
because
and
you learn so much from just sitting and listening to them on the other end of the phone or whatever.
Yeah, and I was told long time ago by Malcolm Adams, if you ever have an assistant, have them sit in your office so they learn to communicate the way you communicate with customers.
Yep.
And that is genius. And you don't even have to really tell them, hey, listen to what I say it that way. You don't have to do that because they get it. It goes into them through osmosis if they're sitting there.
Yeah, if you have any kind of a company where you're growing a team of some kind, you're really, what you're trying to do is duplicate yourself.
Right.
The only way to have really dynamic duplication that works well is take them along on what you do.
Right.
You have to have systems or you're dead in the water.
Sure.
But take them along. It saves you time on training too.
Right.
It's a way to work smarter, not harder. And so you take them to your appointments. It gives you accountability because your calendar better be full.
Right. That's right.
Of appointments, right? Or you can't train people.
Sure.
And then it gives them a massive opportunity to watch you work.
And that's exciting.
Yeah, it's been one of my favorite ways to learn is to, sit side by side with somebody.
Kind of do a ride along.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a funny movie, by the way, Ride Along.
And then you learn what you don't want to do, too, sometimes.
Right. Yes.
I remember being at an appointment, a listing appointment, and one of my mentors says he was doing paperwork, and he looked up and said, "Don't do what I'm doing right now," to me. So you just learn so much.
Sure.
So anyway.
And that's cool. And to have a mentor is something that everybody who's in any kind of new job position or career track needs to have. And, I've always found someone in every job I've ever had, going back to Chess King. Ron Ford, he was my mentor. I followed that guy around and I did what he did.
Yep.
And who knew it was easy to sell men's clothes if you learned the system.
Right.
Right.
My first mentor in work was at Nordstrom, and I had several while I was there, and invaluable education.
Speaking of education, I'm going back to our conversation yesterday and how funny it was when I was telling the kids in the group how old I was when I started my first profitable business.
Right.
And I had done lawn mowing, but that wasn't the same as figuring out a product, finding a niche in the market, making the product profitable, margins. I learned all that at 11 selling candy in school, and you could see the looks on these kids' faces. And it was great when you turned.
I turned around to the teachers and I said, I am so sorry. There's going to be some kid in here tomorrow with a bag full of candy trying to sell it. Oh man!
I bet there was. I bet there's a kid today selling Now and Laters
for sure
at that school in Central Florida.
Yeah,
today I guarantee it.
I loved the moment, though. I got to tell you, my favorite moment of that whole thing was I had two. One of them was just me being a pill, but when this kid's trying to ask me a question,
right? And
I can't understand what he's saying, and all his friends are laughing, and so finally, because I want to cut to the chase, I say to the kid, "Do you have a question, or are you just trying to make your friends laugh?" Because I was like,
That was funny, and that made his friends laugh too.
It did, and then it kind of lightened me up, and then he did finally. The deal was the mask. He couldn't,
right.
It was his mask was too thick, and we couldn't see or hear. Anyway, that was a funny moment. And you're behind me, and you're like, they're not laughing at him, they're laughing at you or whatever,
because you can't hear what he's talking about.
So anyway,
right.
but really, the heartwarming moment for me was when I was talking about being kind of ADHD. I can't focus. I can't sit still very well. I was in trouble all the time in school. That's why I work for myself instead of working for somebody else, because while I can be an excellent employee, I just don't like being told what to do.
Right.
And I would just rather do my own thing. And I'm kind of talking about all of this, and there's this little girl right smack in the center of the room. And I mean, she was, if we had been at church, she'd have had her hand in the air saying amen. Let me tell you.
That's exactly
every single bit of her body language. She was like pointing and like, nodding her head and agree with me and everything. And I said, if you're that kind of kid and you just feel frustrated sometimes because you can't get it right, you're not fitting in, you try to follow the rules, but you just can't, I want to tell you it's going to be okay.
Yeah, that was great. And I think everything about that experience was really, really good and really, really fun. For instance, we played a few seconds of the opening of a couple of our podcasts that are on YouTube.
Yeah, the YouTube thing. So now they think we're famous. They even asked
exactly
us,
right.
Are you famous?
Yes. And the answer is, yes, I am famous, kid, for sure. Ask your parents. They know.
No, we told him no. I was like, no, not really. No.
That's funny. Yeah,
And then they started asking us do you know Bill Gates?
Yeah, that was interesting. And it's because I name dropped Bobby Jindal, the former governor of Louisiana, so they thought we knew everybody.
I guess.
So that was pretty funny. Bobby was one of my customers when I was selling candy in 6th grade.
Right.
And he reminded me of that when I was an adult broadcaster. He and I were doing an interview, and he goes, "Hey, David, do you remember me from Estruma Metal Magnet?" And I'm thinking. And he told me he changed his name to Bobby. And, oh, yeah, I remember you now. Yeah, he used to buy Now and Laters for $0.25 from me.
So how I'm thinking about, I'm still kind of stuck on this starting over thing. We did the 3-part series, but it's like still
in your brain,
buzzing around in my head. And I think part of it is where you and I are in life, you know, and so it's fresh for us personally.
Right.
But I'm also thinking about people who are feeling stuck.
Do you want to talk more about what you just said? It's fresh for us personally. Do you want to discuss that on the show?
We sure can. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't mind at all. We're open books, really.
Yeah.
We're
secrets.
We are the least,
I have secrets.
We are the least private people I know.
We are not private people, but I for sure have secrets.
Oh.
You know them, but they're not for the world.
They're not for the world. But yes, but before we do that, I want to say the kind of things that you loved when you were young that is a really important thing to dig into.
That's absolutely correct.
You know, and so you know, some of the things I was telling the kids about, like I loved being creative with words.
Right.
When I was their age.
Right.
And I was already writing, and I would go 10 years old. I spent that summer riding my bike around the neighborhood and interviewing the people in the neighborhood and then writing like their story.
What a cool thing that is.
You know?
What made you think to do that?
I don't know. I just thought I've always been fascinated by people's stories, which is why I want so badly to get my family's stories that I know written down. I just think everybody has a story. And if you talk to someone long enough, you will find something fascinating about them. For instance, Malcolm Gilbo.
Mac Gilbo, that's right. Malcolm is his legal name.
Who told us the story about getting invited to dinner
at some general's house in New York City.
He didn't know who it was.
Right.
He was out. He was supposed to. I don't even remember how they ran into each other.
He was a seaman in the Navy.
Yeah.
And he snuck out of his ship to go to the dances because he was a young guy and it was World War II-ish.
Right. And he had won.
I think it was World War II-ish. It might have been after that. He's not quite old enough to be in World War II.
He had won a big dance contest.
Yes, that's right.
Out of 300 people, he won, and they were playing the twist.
He did
the twist.
Yes,
that's what it was.
So
anyway,
I would say it's
out
Korean era.
Okay.
So because he's 81,
yeah.
He's 81 right now.
So he's out one night
partying like a rock star. You know how you do when you're a young Navy guy who just snuck off the ship and won a dance contest, and he runs into this general.
No, he didn't know that, though.
Well, no, but he does.
This guy.
He runs into this guy who is a general, though, and they talk about, what's your rank? Tell me all about your life. He's asking Malcolm Gilbo these questions, right? And he says to him, they ran into each other again like 3 weeks later, and he says to him, "Listen here, Malcolm. You're a nice kid. And if you ever are hungry for a steak dinner and you want to talk about your career and your future, I'd love to invite you over. See that house right there? That's my house. So anytime you're on leave and you want to come over for dinner, I'll have a steak for you and you can have all the fixings that you want."
He was just the nicest guy and no pretense at all.
Right. And just an awesome guy who was thrilled to talk to servicemen about their duty.
And especially a serviceman who didn't know who he was.
That's exactly right. Who did not know that he was...
Turned out to be General George Patton.
That's exactly right.
No shit.
General George Patton.
As I live and breathe. I got to hear that story from Mac, and the moment I heard it, I thought, is this written down somewhere?
I bet it's not.
So that his family... I mean, that man has story after story after story after story that need to be shared with the world because they're unbelievable. Talking about jumping off the ship somewhere in the world, I don't even remember where it was. He stripped down to his skivvies, jumped because it was hot, whatever.
That's right.
And jumped off the side of the ship into the water, and so did everyone else after he did. And all of a sudden, they hear an announcement.
Like 50 seamen just went overboard to swim.
Over the speakers, they need to get out of the water immediately because of the, you thought sharks. No, the barracudas. In the water. I mean, I just think if you talk with someone long enough, you ask them about themselves, everybody has a story that's either extraordinary in some way.
Well, yeah, everybody has a story that's extraordinary in some way, for sure. A lot of people don't like to tell their stories, though, because they don't like being the center of attention. So you can't relate to that.
What?
Yes. There are a lot of personality types
I know.
that are disinterested in telling you their story. I, on the other hand, can't wait to tell you a story. I don't even care if it's about me. I just want to be in the room telling the story.
Right.
I
And
don't
you're
care
a great
who it's about.
storyteller.
Well,
you tell great stories. I make you tell them over and over
That's
again
exactly
because
right.
it's so much entertainment for me. So again, I loved that when I was young. I still love it now. There's just a lot of things like that are areas for you to explore, or even if you don't want to make a great big change, but you're looking, here's something. I was speaking with one of our kids this morning, actually, who was saying, I've got my job pretty much nailed down. There's nothing new happening there. And I'm glad there's nothing new happening there because I want it to be like that. However, I've learned I need a creative outlet in my life.
Okay.
So I'm going to do XYZ as the creative outlet in my free time. So it doesn't always have to be a career change or a career thing.
Right.
It can be things that you do in your free time. One of the stupid things that I love to do in my free time is find really phenomenal cleaning products. It's dumb. The day I bought that mop, have you ever seen me so excited?
No, you were thrilled out of your mind. And it
was so stupid.
Here's the best thing about that mop. I love watching you mop our floors because it's spectacular to see the level of effort and the focus you have. And I don't know if you know, you have a pleasant visage. So seeing you doing that is pretty hot. And it reminds me of having a super, super, super hot maid. I don't have that, but it's a fantasy, and the day you got that mop, my fantasies came true.
But that's something, and it seems so stupid to say, but
you love that stuff.
It's real. It's real. I love cleaning. I love finding the right tools, the right products, the right formulas for cleaning that makes it very streamlined and very efficient and does the job well and all that. And like I tell you all the time, you'll like spill on your clothes or something, and you're like, "That's it. It's ruined," and you want to throw it away.
I want to cut it with a knife into shreds.
I take it as a personal challenge.
Yes.
Like I can get that stain out of anything.
Yes.
Trust me.
I had some Robert Graham shirts that were yellowing. I still don't understand how they're not yellowing anymore. I don't get it. I don't know. I don't know what you do. It's witchcraft. It's voodoo. It's some kind of magic.
It's hydrogen peroxide.
I don't get it.
But anyway, so do the things you love. That's what we're saying. Do the things you love. And if you need to figure out how to make money doing it, we can help you do that.
That's easy.
And if you don't need to make money doing it and you just want to do it for fun, then do it. But take the time to do it. I remember one of my sons, James, he plays guitar. And sings, and he's just it's so lovely, And I was talking to him about a career in music, and he said, "Mom, I'm never going to have a career in music. I do this for myself."
He doesn't love it enough to put in the level of work required to do it professionally. He doesn't. He does it because he loves it and it's fun.
Right.
But he's not in love with that for his life.
Right.
He is in love with video production.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And I got to tell you, being a musical thinker, you're better at video production than someone who's a non-musical thinker. Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's music opens the doors to the brain that you can't get any other way. In fact, I was impressed yesterday by this fourth grader that we talked to who is studying violin.
Yeah.
And he can play all the strings, and he told us that he was awarded a place in the honor symphony for the state. I mean, the kid's a fourth grader.
Yeah.
That's cool stuff.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool stuff.
Yeah. So there you go. All those things you love. Now we can circle back and talk about
Okay.
where we are, if you like.
Yeah. So we went to the MMA fights 3 weeks ago with our Florida real estate buddy, Jared Weglin.
Yeah.
He sponsored a table, so we got, bottle service, and we're in the VIP area for the MMA fights.
I'd never been, and I loved it.
Yeah, you're pretty much a freak about it. Anyway,
I loved the girl fights best.
the girl fight was the most vicious. It was the most vicious fight, and there was this little Cajun Vietnamese combo kid who was very vicious as well.
Yeah.
And those two fights were worth the entire night.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was great. Anyway, we went there and were invited to go with Jared to go see the fights, and it was awesome. And we said to him, hey, we've been in the house, the vacation home here in Florida, for a little over a year. Let's do the 1 year checkup and tell us what the house is worth.
Yep.
So he comes back to us that night and gives us...
Stealing your coffee.
That's
Don't
fine.
mind.
That's
Don't
fine.
mind me.
It's how you like it. Codependent. Anyway, he brings us the CMA that he put together for us, and the house has appreciated, get this, about $150,000 in 1 year.
Right.
That is
according to his research and data and whatnot.
Crazy money. And the reason he says that has happened is because 1,000 people a day are moving to Florida, because Florida is the open state. Florida's been open the entire time.
Right.
And, Disney World and Universal Studios here opened 6-8 months ago. They did not open in California until, I don't even know if they're open now. I think they are. I think they recently reopened in California. So people are moving here like crazy.
Right.
So the supply in Lakeland is way down. There's, he said, I think an 86% deficit in homes on the market compared to this time last year.
I don't remember exactly, but something like that, something crazy.
And so we said, okay, well, if that's the case, get a sign in our yard today. Mm-hmm. And he did.
Yep.
So we have our sign in the yard of our vacation home in Lakeland, Florida. Mm-hmm. And if we get the money he says it's worth,
right,
we will sell it.
Yeah. If
we don't get the money he says it's worth, we're staying.
Right.
So fun experiment.
Because for us, and I wish more people would get this concept.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really matter where you are. When you're happy in your life,
mm-hmm.
It really doesn't matter where you live, what home you're in, what the circumstances are. So, and we're in that place where we're like, well, anywhere that we are there, that's home.
Right. That's exactly
us.
right.
And so, I don't care.
And
I don't care a thing about it.
And thanks to COVID,
it's great. I love it, but I don't care.
People do not really care about meeting with their lender face-to-face thanks to COVID. Mm-hmm. And the state of Washington, where I'm a licensed loan officer, has allowed you to work from home. And they don't care.
Right.
You can work from home. So that's what I've been doing for the last year and a couple of months. And, of course, we fly back there every 6 weeks. And I have an active office there, and I have people there. But whatever the case, we can be anywhere. So here's why I say that. If, in fact, we sell this house in Florida for what we want, we have decided that we're going to go to my home of Lafayette, Louisiana. And we have an awesome realtor in Lafayette, Louisiana named Robbie Bro.
Love that guy.
Top producer, awesome rock star salesperson, focused systems guy, who also does Lifestyles Lafayette, or Lafayette Lifestyles, which is a show he does. It's a highly
really
produced video show that he does to connect with the lifestyle of the Acadiana area.
Yeah,
where he does real estate.
Great restaurants.
That's exactly what he does.
Yeah.
We've seen people try to do it.
Yeah.
We've never seen people do it this well.
Whoa, at this level, no.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very
professional production.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's because he gets up every morning and goes to CrossFit at 5 a.m.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So anyway, that is the short-term plan. If we sell this house in Lakeland, Florida for the ridiculous number that the market would allow, then we're going to buy a house in Lafayette, Louisiana. Why not?
Maybe.
And maybe. But we went there last weekend to see my brother Nathan.
We're pretty fluid. I got it.
We are pretty fluid. And who knows? We could just get in the RV and drive to Washington and stay at our apartment in Washington for 6 months. Who knows? I don't want to do it either, but there's a ton of things we could do. But yeah, I don't miss any of them. Anyway, that's a joke. I miss them all. But we see them pretty darn regularly.
Yeah, we do.
We're in front of one or more of our kids every few weeks, it seems.
Yeah.
We've flown several here. We have flown to see them every 6 weeks in this calendar year. I mean, it's
until recently.
Well, we still haven't hit the 6th week, so we don't know. I could get a phone call and need to fly to Kennewick for work. That's a possibility.
That is very true, and I would miss you while you're gone.
So the moral of the story is we could be anywhere, and we may show up in Lafayette, Louisiana for all of my Lafayette friends and broadcast partners and people I grew up around. That's a real possibility.
Well, I'll tell you, there was some good food there.
Oh, the foodways are incredible in Lafayette. And my cousin here, Alice, and her husband, Jimmy was picking on me. He's like, oh, so you're going to go to Lafayette and you're just going to stay there because they're more fun and it's more awesome in Lafayette. No, but it's fun to feel connected, right?
Yeah.
And in the Tri-Cities, we're super connected. Mm-hmm. In Lafayette, Louisiana, now we're super connected.
Well, I think for me, it's a lot of the appeal is the adventure of something different.
Right.
And now knowing, over the last 3 years, I've learned those aren't just unattainable dreams.
Right.
You actually can just pick up and go.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want to do.
And you can buy a house with 20% down, or you can rent. You can do whatever you want to do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't necessarily ever want to buy a house again.
Well, so, I'm a huge believer in owning a home because homes are wealth, as
am I.
As evidenced by our new CMA on our house in Florida. Now, if we don't get that number, we're not going to sell it because it's a perfectly good home. We love it. We can swim. We've got an enclosed 1,200 square foot lanai where we can hang out.
It's nice. It works really well for us.
That's exactly right. But if we get the money that we conceivably could get,
right,
then why not go to Lafayette? And I got to tell you, I really enjoy the detail that our realtor there, Robbie Bro, as we've said, put into showing us houses while we were there for the weekend. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. So there you go. There you have it. That's what we're talking about now. And it's all sparked by MMA fights and our Starting Over series. We weren't even thinking about this. You know what I mean? We do a 3-part series, and all of a sudden, wait, we could be anywhere. Why aren't we listening to ourselves? We can do whatever we want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm still recovering health-wise, and so I don't have a lot of get up and go at the moment. But, so I'm still looking to kind of relax and live kind of a slow, quiet life for another good season to heal. Keep healing.
And I, on the other hand, am not looking for that. I'm looking to feel connected.
Maybe you should find a nice lady who could do that with you. What do you mean you're not looking for that?
No, I'm not looking to slow down and do less work and heal.
That's nice that you're looking for that kind of life, but I'm not looking for that.
No. What I'm saying is I'm looking at my business and I'm loving doing what I'm doing, and I'm loving the guys that I do it with in Kennewick, Washington, and I'm going to keep doing that until they throw me out of the building, until they set all my things in my office on fire and make me go away.
I guess what I mean is, I love being in the position that I'm in right now of being able to pick and choose what I want to do.
It is nice.
Because I don't have the pressure of, I have to do this.
Right.
So.
Well, and, we need more money, do another job.
Right.
We need more money, answer the phone on Sunday at 7:00 at night. You know what I mean?
Well, it's very true. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah.
That's the best thing about sales.
That's why I talk
about sales. And if you're interested in a sales career, you need to call Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants at 509-491-2663. That number again for Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants is 509-491-2663. No job is too small. No project is too big for Londa at SherwoodAustin.com. Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants. It's a cool place to be.
It really is. I love it.
That's right.
I love it. I love helping people
That's
move
exactly
forward.
right. And not having to clock in every day has been really good for you.
Yeah. And some of the results that I get, just to kind of define a little bit of what I can do for people, is it's not always about making more money, but I can help you make more money for sure.
Right.
I have no doubt. But sometimes it's tightening up your systems so that your life is more peaceful.
Right.
Sometimes it's auditing what's going on with your business or your life, and eliminating some unnecessary things.
Right.
So that you have more time to pursue fun or, activities that you enjoy, or maybe you do want to start a side hustle, but you don't have the time to do it. We can figure all that out. So it's a lot of different things that we do.
Yeah. And if you have, let's say, a restaurant, and you want us to come in there and help you make it what your vision is, we can totally do that too.
Yep.
So there really is, when I say no job is too big and no business is too small, and vice versa, I'm saying that on purpose, because you have a skill to be able to help anybody realize their dreams. And that's a really cool thing. And that's why the session with Londa and David is brought to you each week by Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants. Again, that number is 509-491-2663. I got to tell you, our Starting Over series, 3-part series that we did, had great reviews, great response. But the most important thing is it made us look at what we're doing and what we can do differently.
Yeah, I love that.
And I think that's really, really cool. So
we are tasting our own medicine.
There you go.
And it's good.
And I got a message from a realtor who listens every single week wondering if we were okay because we didn't do a session last Monday.
Yeah.
And it's because we were in Lafayette looking at real estate and visiting with family. And what a great opportunity that was to go back home. They say you can never go home again. You can.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yep.
There you have it, and there it is. You've done it all, and you've said it all, hun.
Yep,
so
I
we
think
need
so.
we need to wrap up this show.
Wrap it up.
For Londa, Sherwood Austin, I'm David Austin, and this has been The Session with Londa and David.